Hello War of the Visions fans, I'm Jackie Fox. I asked you and you told me that you wanted to see Veritas of the Heavens first, so that's what we're going to do. Now, for the Veritas videos, I am going to be ranking 13 Veritas teams against each other, and Veritas of the Heavens did probably the most consistently good, getting 3 teams out of the top 5. But before we talk about this, I want to talk about the Guardian's Crystal. This is the accessory that you can get by trading any of the Veritas' shards, so if there's a couple elements that you aren't building for whatever reason, you can use those to get your Guardian's Crystal +5 faster. It's going to give you a lot of stats. Just beef up your stats to the point where these are going to become equivalent to next generation units in a lot of cases, and you're really going to start seeing them on next generation teams, especially Veritas of the Earth, because there's kind of a gaping hole for him to fill on Earth teams, at least before Southerly comes. And for Veritas of the Heavens, he's getting some really powerful partners right now in Astrolancer, Ramada, and Shurika. Both of these are great units with him. Unfortunately, I did not have a Shurika when I recorded this, and I did a lot of work here, so that's not going to be included in this, but I will be doing a Shurika video, so tune back in for that if you're interested in her, and we will be talking about her combination with Veritas of the Heavens as well, because they're very powerful together. But in talking about that, let's also mention that it's not necessarily the biggest boost in stats. I know the percentages look huge, but this will kind of upgrade them into top tier status, but just that. Because you are giving up an equipment slot for this, you are giving up other bonuses for this, and some of the benefits that you're getting from this aren't going to be just stats. It's going to be the fact that you can now reslot certain runes on your TMRs to have more passives than they previously did, because HP, luck, any of these things are going to be significantly stronger on the Guardian's Crystal than the passive you could get from TMRs. So to prevent those from overlapping, you're probably going to want to build new crystals for some of these characters that don't maximize, say, magic or luck or HP, because you're going to be doing better here. That means that essentially you're getting 2 or 3 extra passives for all of these characters by replacing things in their TMRs, which is going to make them even more powerful. It is a significant boost, but maybe not as overstated as it could be. I do think it's particularly exciting because these are really good characters. Otherwise, they haven't really performed at the maximum yet, and I think that's what we're going to see with this. So, what did I do? How did I do this? Well, one thing I did was I tested several days in the way that I usually do, through looking at their guild battle performance in recent JP guild battle, but I also tested them against my own guild and weighted that score in here. So this is going to be versus 26 teams in a high level guild, so within the top 200. So you're going to get a pretty good cross section for each one of these teams and what it can be, what it can't. And we're going to be taking a look at wins and losses for each of the teams. So for this team, we're getting kind of the standard wind team. And I've already shown this off. It's kind of obvious that it's going to beat Earth teams like these. It's going to struggle more with Ice and with Gilgamesh. And there are some other problems for it, and we'll get into that. But it seems like there are even some Ice teams that it can beat pretty handily. This one is particularly interesting. It helps that there's a Mont in there. But we'll show some more of those off later. And you'll get to see that defense team as well that I just previewed. And really, through these 3 videos, you're probably going to get to see every one of these teams in battle in some way. So it gives you a lot of ideas about how just a really wide variety of teams are going to deal into these Veritas units. So let's first try this Ice and Earth. Clearly we have a pretty good advantage against the Earth member of this team, but I'm curious to see how we handle the Ice units, because especially I think Oldoa could be a real big problem for Shurika, although since she is a little bit more, well, she's also more physically oriented in her defenses, but she's also like, Veritas of the Heavens is good at penetrating AoE resistance in a similar way to Ramada. This is a thing that's going to make him really powerful with Ramada. They're both good at breaking AoE resistance. And that's really not the strong point of Old Zoe anyways. So you have a potential strong avenue for damage for at least Veritas of the Heavens and to a certain degree Dario. And there's even AoE moves that Shurika can bring to the fight, but you know what really ends a match very quickly? When Dario disables their two strongest units and just kind of leaves the tank. Oh, nope, the tank was one of the ones that got disabled. Ooh, I guess it was A2 that didn't get disabled? I don't know, man. We really messed the field up with those status effects. Dario can pull off some really clutch stuff like that, coming in with disable on multiple units, but often his berserk is pretty impactful when it lands. Let's try another matchup. This is going to be versus a light team. Strongly light and physical. We do pretty well into physical. We can also take some magic because of Dario, but I would say most of the individual units on this team are geared better towards physical. And that means that with Dario's anti-magic aura active, they do pretty well into both physical and magical damage. And Dario can do pretty well into both of those as well. He's also pretty good into slash in general. So unless they're using slash resistance penetration, there is a light card for this. I want to say it was one of the Dawnbringers cards, so it was an FF14 card. Pretty rare, but slash resistance penetration of 35 as a VC effect. If they're running that, they might be able to get through people like Dario, but I guess they weren't because they didn't. We got through those pretty easily. This one is going to be mostly a wind team, but they do have an ice unit on here that might throw us a little bit of a curveball. There's also a lot of strike on this team, which could be interesting. I don't think anyone really has a particular weakness to strike except for Shurika. Maybe Dario. Tanks often are weak to strike. But, you know, part of the question is, does anyone with strike damage really get in range of Shurika to exploit that? And we'll see. I mean, Snow's getting pretty close already. AoE resistant. Oh, no, wait. That's not the AoE resistance down one. But he's already taken quite a bit of damage. He can't take magic damage to save his life. He got the stun on Dario, and that saved him from that magic damage. But even with elemental resistance, and like a full ice team could build him, especially with his vision card, which is really important for wind resistance, could build him for much higher wind resistance than that. In which case her follow-up damage would still hit him pretty hard because, you know, even with the elemental resistance, just non-elemental magic damage is going to hit him pretty hard. Also, I think he was a little bit before units were getting a lot of unit attack or area attack resistance, so he probably doesn't have much unit resistance either. That follow-up hit is therefore going to do at least a good bit of damage. We're having some trouble finishing off Joom, and because of that, she just keeps doing damage and healing herself back up. And if you can't blow out the damage quickly enough to counter that, she can just keep healing back up and slapping you more. At least until she runs out of her HP restore. So this is going to be a pretty similar team. We're going to see Joom again. Joom's anti-magic can be a bit of a problem for Shurika, but the two ice units on this team ought to be a problem for Shurika as well. We've already seen this team take on a team with two ice units on it, but it did get a clutch double disable, which I cannot discount, being one hell of a clutch move for Dario to get there. Not even trying it this time. Also, I hate that a lot of these follow-up skills cause people to turn away from damage. This is going to lower their evasion and increase their damage taken relative to people standing behind them, and it's especially bad when your tank does it. Even if we did get a heal out of it, he may have taken more damage. And, you know, especially in that case where the heal wasn't even relevant, that's pretty rough. A lot of chaining, a lot of damage in there. If Dario had been alive, he definitely could have thrown a triple drain in there for good damage. But as you can see, again, couldn't overwhelm them. It was really hard overwhelming the ice units especially. And, you know, June was really putting up with what Shurika could do quite well. This team, oh my gosh. You guys, this team did incredibly well on offense, right? So the first team that I showed you, they came in 3rd overall. 4th place on offense, 2nd place on defense. This team did not rank on defense. It did pretty poorly on defense, all things considered, but it did average 4.77 stars on offense. Like, it did really bad on defense. Really bad on defense, barely getting over a defend. Like, the worst performance I've ever seen on defense, I think, barring some special occasions and exceptions. But 3rd place on offense and very close to 1st and 2nd. So this team performs very well and came in 2nd place overall. So we're leading this up with some of our strongest teams. And naturally, the pattern that you're going to see here is that Shurika is very, very strong with Veritas the wins. And in part because they don't really allow anybody to mess with them. Shurika can shred through people's unit resistance. And Veritas of the Winds can shred through people's area attack resistance so effectively that it can even enable Shurika to do AoE damage and hit more than 2 characters at one time, which, when she is in the good conditions to do that, is just incredibly powerful. However, you know, even if she can't do that, even if the AoE resistance isn't super breakable by Veritas of the Heavens, or isn't breakable beyond what she could do with her unit resist breaks herself, you know, it's just really strong. So she will still come in with that hit to single target damage, but even that is quite powerful. I'm just saying that especially when she can get that follow-up hit on all 3 members of their team, it hits. It fucking slaps. Sottily, too, has a lot of single target or AoE skills. Like, he has a very powerful limit burst that can really change the game. That, you know, that's a single target move. He also has other strong single target skills, but he also has strong AoE skills. So there's a lot that he can do with either of their sets of breaks. So he can go into a fight and abuse either of these advantages pretty effectively. Now, this was a team that I'm pretty sure we had trouble against. This is the user that created this team has Transcendent Mind, which means that that's the title for ending the week at #1 in Arena, which is, I would say, probably the best indicator of an intersection of like skill and effort, maybe by the way of money. Just because like it's pretty competitive and you need exactly the right stuff. Even more so than having a good team, you want like the best good team. And that can be kind of exclusionary. And in addition to the way the bonus structure is working on that. But what I'm saying is this person's put a lot, both of thought and everything else into this team. And Fina's long-range healing skills are just really impressive to me. She does a very good job of staying out of harm's way while healing her team. Very effective. Which should mean that this is another loss. This is actually the team that the other one beat pretty easily. Now, if we don't proc disable, again, maybe the other team wouldn't have beat it quite as easily. But it will be interesting if this team loses to a team that the other one did well into. I mean, we're not going to see Dario in this fight, so there's no chance of Dario disabling half their team. There is a chance that somebody gets charmed by Sottily, though, but him being up front in the way that he is really scaring me to think that he may not get to damage. don't know if that has a follow-up yet. Now he's gone. Does he have re-raise? He did not proc re-raise. Okay. Now, one of the interesting things about Sottily, though, and using him with Shurika at least, is that he is one of the many units that can give her re-raise. So that's pretty helpful for her, pretty important for her, and I think that's, you know, that's why Lucielle is so important for her, I think. Why Shalza can be so good for her in more fire teams. Okay, we won that one, but it was a very close fight this time. Again, maybe not an indication that this is a weaker team than the other. It did slightly underperform it, but... Wait, this is the wrong team. Oops. Didn't mean to put this in here. So this is another one of my teams. This is going to be for baiting Earth specifically. And let's see how this team did. This team did 11th out of the 13 that I tested. One of the big problems for this team is that almost no one is running it in guild battle, either on offense or defense. Out of the 3 days that I looked, it was used one time on defense, which is rough. And I even looked at additional days to try to find a day to make up for that and give it some score. And that really handicapped its score. So it's probably better than that gives it credit for, because there was some missing data on wotv stats. And it did manage to take out 59 units on defense. This is out of 78 total. But, you know, the top 5, that almost gets it in the top 5 score for how it did against a high-level guild. So I would say that, you know, you should really take its low score with a big grain of salt. I think that this is potentially a very impactful team, and specifically a very impactful team on defense. Wouldn't necessarily run this on offense, but this would be a really good honeypot for Ashen Mont to fall into. And as you can see here, one of the counters potentially for this is a strong wind team that can take care of everybody else here. It's going to have kind of mixed results against Alaya, and you can see that they're having a little bit of trouble with that. There is a lot of anti-Alaya to strategist Uldoa, though. That's certainly going to help them a lot in this matchup. But you can see Alaya is starting to wipe the rest of their team around her, in spite of the tank, which is a serious problem for Uldoa here. So even though this was supposed to be a team that was supposed to bait Earth and try to avoid Ice, it's still looking like it has a decent matchup into Ice, in part because Alaya's just kind of whooping the ass that they can't, and beating up everyone around the tank as well, which is really what she is amazing for. But also, this is more of the Earth type team that you would think would run into it. So this is the one that I run in guild battle, so it's certainly a good example of a higher tier Earth team right now. Maybe not my favorite in the whole game at this point, but it's still doing pretty well for the age on some of the units in the build. A lot of people seem surprised that Bradley's still in here, but part of the answer is just that he can start big chains in a wide area of effect, and then Mont can just come in and finish people off. When you have Mont and Bradley on the same team, it is a recipe for Bradley being accurate enough to make sure everyone gets damaged and the chain gets started on everyone, and then Mont comes in, picks 2 people, and finishes them off in a lot of cases. Very strong combination for the 2 of them, but it can have a lot of trouble overwhelming the resistances of wind teams. For what it's worth, I think Alaya on this team has a positive resistance to Earth herself. Just to try to counter-effect some of that, so that even she might be able to survive into a matchup like this. So again, you know, Bradley's not here to do the most damage, but he has started a chain, and most likely Mont is going to finish that with some big damage here, some big breaks. As you can see, that finished her off. Not only did it finish her off, it also got rid of that courage as well. So we're healed back up, but we haven't done anything to their wind units, and they're both very much in range to smack us very hard. And we've managed to put enough distance between each other in this formation that Bradley can't hit both at the same time. She's probably going to change that, but she's probably going to take out Bradley when she does. Also, wow, big damage on Mon. Almost big enough to take him off the board, but he is being held back. Let's see if he can hit both of them. He can't, so he is being held out of range of Shurika. Let's see if... I think Veritas the Heavens might be able to finish this off right here. Oh no, he's still having trouble with Renoa. Also, Renoa didn't need a heal when she procced that initially. So even though she needed a heal when it landed, she wasn't targeting herself because she didn't need it when she cast it. Something very strange happened while I was recording this video, and my always reliable video recording software for my phone just kind of stopped working a couple times. It took me some time, and I had to find time at the right time of day to do these mock battles, but I did at least get the recorded data for those, even if the videos are missing. 2 of those videos would have been for this team, Veritas the Heavens, Shurika, and Glaciella. This is very similar both to the Dario and to the Sottile variants of this team. This team performed almost as well as the Sottile version. The Sottile version actually had our high score for beating the guild with 70 stars total. But the Glaciella version came in second with 68, and this was considerably higher than the 60 the Veritas the Heavens, Shurika, and Dario put up, interestingly enough. The Glaciella variant of this team also came 3rd place on defense, so just a little bit below Dario, and did not rank on offense. Then, when you get to 12th place, Veritas the Heavens, Elda, King of the Lions, and Glaciella, Flagbearer of Reform. So for whatever reason, my phone just did not want to record Glaciella footage. This team didn't rank, it only scored 48 stars going up against my guild and had a lot of missing data. So none of the stats here are promising. And I think that this if you replace Glaciella with Ramada, this is a team I tested for my Ramada video, and it did better there, and it is used more there. But really, while this is a good showcase of Veritas of the Heavens' power as a spear unit, and it did alright, it's still not that great, and it's in part because there's some relatively old units on this team, and it just, you know, any of these units could work on a team, but all of these units do not work on a team together, I guess is what I'm saying. And there aren't a lot of people who are using Elda, King of the Lions, in general, off of specifically wind compositions. Like, I just couldn't find him on any of the spear compositions for a number of videos I've done. And this build was no exception. Although people are running it on defense pretty consistently, I only ever found one person to run it on offense. But they got 5 stars, so good for them. Some promise, but So with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Remember that the free-to-play option for YouTube is to like and subscribe, but also ring that bell because I'm a foul-mouthed fox and YouTube likes to suppress my content. So to make sure that you get my content delivered to your inbox or your notifications bar, whatever your phone does, click the bell. But also click the link in the description to see other parts of the Jackie Fox Media universe, such as my other YouTube channel, my podcast, my books, which are for sale, just reminding you. In fact, one of my newer books, the hardcover of It Even Happens While We Sleep, is on a deep discount. Very cool cover art, high quality, big hardback book, very much like it. And I liked it so much, I decided I was going to sell it for, I don't know, I make like $1.50 in cost when I move one of these. So get it while the getting's cheap. I can't break the price much lower. So go ahead and grab that today. Thank you all so much for watching. And with all that being said, I'll see you in the next one.